same energy, yeah. Keep the same energy, keep the same energy, yeah. Keep the same energy, You ain't gotta like me, no. You ain't gotta like me, no.
Reballers, we did it. We did it, Sperleezy. We did it.
What's going on? What's going on, guys?
This is officially the season finale. First season of Reball. We are wrapping it up this episode. Got some exciting news, some fun things to talk about. But first things first, everything's going okay on your end, Sperleezy?
Man, everything's good. Everything's good. Hot outside, so just
staying in,
relaxing. Yeah.
Perfect. So as usual, we're going to talk about the market, do updates, do some exciting basketball updates. It's about to begin the season. It's about to resume. So that's exciting. Can't wait to hear about that. We'll jump into the portfolios, and we're going to have some official results of the inaugural champ of the Reball Fantasy League. So I'm excited for all that. So let's jump right into it. You ready?
Let's do it.
Let's go. So first up, let's talk about the economy. Last couple of days, this past week, there have been some concerns. If you see the pace of jobless claims the improvement has slowed quite a bit. So, in the beginning of the pandemic, it was extremely high, and every week since March, it's been declining, and then it's tapered off a little bit. Now, some of those factors are now related to COVID, but overall unemployment is still, I believe, twice as high as the peak during the Great Recession. So we still have some ways to go. On top of that, we have federal aid that's expiring, hundreds of billions of dollars in the next week.
I've heard that they are talking about extending it. We'll see what happens.
Right. So, it's all about negotiations and agreements and how big will the next stimulus be, who will impact, who will be left out. But the fact that there's increased cases, we have to do something. So keep an eye out on that. Next up, single family residence. So it's interesting. This happened back at the Great Recession in 2008. And again, we're seeing single family homes. You're starting to see big players dump more money and deploy more capital into single family portfolios. Now, this is large scale. So one example is Brookfield, one of the largest Wall Street asset management firms. They've acquired controlling ownership of 10,000 homes in the Midwest and in the Southeast. They also raised another $300 million. A lot of that will go toward the single family home portfolio. And, back in 2008, there were billions of dollars spent in single family homes. So, keep that on your radar to see which firms are going to be doing what. Chase also doubled down with partnering with American Homes for Rent, which is a REIT, a single family residential REIT, AMH. Invitation Homes is another single family REIT. If you're interested in participating that way, they are INVH. Then we have breaking news this afternoon. Simon Property Group, which is the largest retail and mall REIT that there is. They've joined up with Authentic Brands and offered $305 million to essentially acquire Brooks Brothers. So if you ever bought Kent, I don't know if you have any suits or any shirts or anything.
Brooks Brothers suits.
Yeah, I don't know if you're a Brooks Brothers fan, man, but it looks like there will be some type of bailout or acquisition. And it's interesting if you think about it. Simon Property, I think this is a prime example. Like, I think large real estate players will continue to acquire some of their distressed retail tenants, especially if it's just pandemic driven, right? Because Brooks Brothers naturally was performing well before this, right? I mean, they weren't going to file for bankruptcy, I don't believe, leading into the pandemic, right? So a lot of retail players have been impacted, but they are a good brand that can recover with some injected capital. So it'll be interesting to see real estate owners buying more retail tenants that are distressed. And then what does that look like on the balance sheet?
Right.
It's no longer a traditional real estate company. Now they have all these interesting assets. So how do we analyze it different? So all these things I'm thinking about as these acquisitions and transactions take place. Of course, we'll keep you posted both in the REIT Ball newsletter and our upcoming episodes. And then last update I have is REITs year to date. So year to date, so far we have all REITs as a whole. Equity REITs are down 13.1%. You have infrastructure is up 17%. We talked about, the cell towers and the tech-driven REITs. So they're up 17%. Residential is down 18.2%. Industrial is up 4.3% year to date. Data centers crushing it, 22% up year to date. Retail down 40%. Healthcare down 26%. Office down 24%. Self-storage down 7.1%. And what else do we talk about mostly? Lodging down 51%. And home financing, which is kind of your home financing, commercial financing, your mortgages, they're 37 to 38% down. So still a lot in the red. Still a common theme for our season one was data centers, infrastructure, industrial, really playing a big role. I happen to believe in, this is just my own personal opinion. Like we always say, this is entertainment and information. I just feel like residential is getting beat up a little bit more than they should. I mean, when you think about it, we always talk about fundamental need for shelter. So we'll see how, residential plays in the upcoming months. But that's all I have on the market news. Let's transition over, see what's going on in basketball, Spurleasy.
Basketball. Let's get it started. We have the NBA restart that is about to take place. They actually are scrimmaging going on this week. Let's go ahead and bring up that picture for us so we can see what's happening this week. We're going to have our first set of 4 games on Wednesday, July 22nd. We have Orlando versus the Clippers, the Pelicans versus the Nets, the Wizards versus the Nuggets, and the Kings versus the Heat. So I'm excited to see how this works. From what I've seen, there's going to be a lot of social distancing as much as they can. They recently showed how the chairs are going to be in the audience, and they're like literally 6 feet apart as far as the people that are on the bench and the coaches.
As far as the players and coaches, right?
Yeah. So when they sit behind the bench, they have I want to say they kind of look like executive office chairs, but they're all spaced out to practice social distancing. And then I think for the folks that aren't playing, they're wearing mask up, and then but when they get on the court, all rules are off. So
yeah, right.
I'm excited to see how this turns out. Excited to see how folks play. In other news, we recently had 3 players that had to leave the bubble for personal reasons. That's Zion Williamson, Patrick Beverley, and Montrezl Harrell from the Clippers. So we don't know when they'll be back. Obviously, when they do come back, they got to take 2 tests and get negative results on both those tests before they can rejoin their team.
I will say that some of the opponents, not to cut you off, are probably semi-excited as long as it's not serious for Patrick Beverley because he's a beast on defense. And I know some people are probably like, man, give me a little break, So hopefully they all get better quickly, though.
Yeah. They didn't really say what the reasons was. They all were just personal and excused.
Oh, okay.
I don't think it's an issue of anyone being sick. I think they just have to go home to their families.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And unfortunately, that involves leaving the bubble. When you come back to the bubble, you got to start all over.
Yeah.
So who knows when they'll be back once they take care of their business. But we're excited to get this season started. It's going to be a fun week. It officially kicks off next week. But yeah, so we'll see what happens. So let's go over to our first basketball topic of today. It's kind of a who do you think is better in their prime for the folks watching on YouTube. We'll bring up the image right now. There we go. Sorry about that. For the folks not on YouTube, I'll go ahead and tell you who it is. It's we have a question mark of who was the best hooper shown here in their prime. We have a picture of Stevie Francis, Stephon Marbury, Baron Davis, and Gilbert Arenas. What do you think?
It's tough, man. So I always, when I think of Baron, I think about the 2007. Was it 2007? The playoffs, Golden State against Dallas.
Yeah,
that was such an exciting series, man. And when I think about Baron, I think about that series. And it was just one of the best series I've ever seen. So Baron, I was a big fan of Baron, and I recently saw the Marbury documentary.
Okay,
and it just reminded me of. Man, it reminded me of how great he was. He obviously had, so a lot of challenges and just critics and everything else, right? That maybe kind of distracted from his true talent. But I think, also it's a tight tie between the two. But if I had to choose, I'll go with Baron.
Okay.
What about you?
I'm gonna go with Gilbert Arenas, Agent Zero. I think Baron had the best career. He had the longest career. But I think if you want to talk about in their prime, so let's just single out maybe 3 seasons. I think it definitely goes to Gilbert Arenas. At one point Gilbert Arenas was averaging 30 points a game. I watched Gilbert put up 60 on Kobe.
Wow.
So Agent Zero, he was lethal out there. But as far as career, I'd give it to Baron. Steph Marbury, he left the league, went over to China, and made a huge name for himself.
Right.
Stevie Francis, in and out of injuries. You could really say injuries hurt all 4 of these players.
Yeah. Yep.
But I'd have to put Gilbert Arenas just because I think he had the best 2-3 years out of the 4.
Got it. Cool, man. No, you went with Gilbert. I went with Baron.
Yeah.
We need a third person on here for a tiebreaker. But, yeah. What's next? What you got next?
What's next? I think we're gonna go ahead and go into the teams. See what happens.
All right, man. I've been waiting. I've been waiting for this moment. Kent. So officially, we wrapped up the season. As we said, this is the season finale. We wrapped up the portfolios and the performance. It was a little scary in the last couple of weeks because I was leading the pack, and then Kent took over 2 weeks ago. Luckily, my squad came back this past week, and the inaugural champ for Reapball people, ladies and gentlemen. We got balloons going. We got balloons. I'm glad.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations.
It's a close race.
What is
that? I got a bobblehead Kobe.
Yeah, Black Mamba Kobe Championship trophy.
Oh man, I wish. See, you got to ship it to me or something. With the pandemic, it's my virtual trophy. Thank you, sir. Thank you. So so first champ of all Reapball, so that's pretty cool, man. I was a little nervous, but overall, you let's see, since the draft, my portfolio did 9.31%. Again, this is informational, educational, entertaining. It was random picks, right, with players just to show people how REITs move and different property types and things like that. So mine was 9.31 since the draft. Yours was 8.96. Talk about a close finish,
that's
man.
Close. That is
talk about a close finish. So I'm glad we stopped when we did. We captured it the end of Friday when the market closed this past Friday. So I don't know what happened since, but with our specific portfolios, but I'll take it. I'm gonna take it. But no, thank you, man. So let's jump into your portfolio first. The top performer and the worst performer. We're gonna go based on, again, this is based on the ones we haven't covered yet. So QTS Realty Trust, their ticker symbol is QTS. Easy enough to remember. They are a data center. We talk data centers. And so interesting, since the draft, they were $61.45, and that was mid. We did this when? Mid-May. May.
Mhm.
Wow, time flies. And then today they are, or when it closed, the market closed Friday, they were 66.35. The past week, their performance was actually 2.85%. So if you're on listening to the podcast, we just put up one of their properties, one of their data centers, and this is their Atlanta data center, which I'll get into in a minute. For QTS Realty Trust, they are headquartered in Overland Park, Kansas. They're founded in 2003. They have a market value of $4.1 billion. And they acquired a portfolio and some small M&A transactions from 2003 to 2013. And then they went public in October of 2013. They have 26 data centers in the US now and 2 centers in the Netherlands. So the states that they cover, or they have data centers in Virginia, Georgia, Texas, Oregon, New Jersey, Kansas, of course, where their headquarters are, Arizona, and California. And their goal is to operate with 100% renewable energy sourced by 2025, so the next 5 years. And then the property that we're going to talk about briefly, Atlanta Data Centers, it's on 1033 Jefferson Street Northwest in Atlanta, Georgia. 970,000 square feet total enclosed space. It's the largest data center in the Southeast, and 531,000 square feet of that is the data center footprint. So very, very large data center we're talking about today. And again, you can hop on YouTube if you're not already and look at the image of that, or you can go to QTS's website, check that out. And then for the for the best player, we had Zion that's assigned to QTS Realty Trust.
Hey, let's talk about Zion for a quick second. Zion, I think we all believe, is the future face of the NBA. Recently drafted number 1 overall out of Duke just this past year. Got hurt during preseason, didn't come back until January, but has been balling ever since. Like I said, future face of the NBA, young kid, only 20 years old, currently averaging 23 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. He's a monster, and he's only 6'6". He doesn't play like he's 6'6", but he's only 6'6". A lot of people compare his style to, you got Charles Barkley, who's 6'4", Anthony Mason, Larry Johnson. Those guys that weren't really tall but played big, I guess you could say. But that's Zion. Just a little more history about Zion. Zion went to a small school in South Carolina. One of those schools he was there from kindergarten through 12th grade.
That's crazy.
Yeah, in senior year, averaged 36 points, 11 rebounds, and 3 assists. So I mean, he's been on ESPN since high school. He went to Duke for 1 year. He got hurt at Duke, but then came back and played in the tournament. So
that was with the shoe issue, right? When the shoe blew up.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild.
So it's going to be interesting to see how his career pans out. Hopefully, like I said earlier, he had to leave the bubble for personal reasons. Hopefully, he can make it back because the Pelicans are trying to get that 8th seed to make it to the playoffs. Cool.
Thank you for that update. And that's QTS Realty Trust Data Center, and it looks like exciting news. I failed to mention in the beginning, but I'm not gonna drop the REIT yet. But speaking of data centers, slight hint, it looks like we have confirmed, fingers crossed, everything goes smoothly with scheduling, but it looks like we have confirmed our first REIT CEO for season 2 episode. We're going to try to get that early on in the episodes. So stay tuned. Make sure you continue to follow us and share for season 2 so that, we'll start with REIT CEO as well as some other guests that we have lined up. Excited to get that going on. So that was a perfect segue for that. And then the worst performer of the week, again, that we haven't discussed, is Easterly Government Properties. Did I go over the dividend just real quick? Is 2.92 for QTS. And then for Easterly properties, their ticker symbol is DEA, dividend of 4%. And they are based in DC. So they have a pretty unique REIT. So Easterly Government Properties, their market value is $1.77 billion. And they focus on Class A. So remember, we talked about Class A, Class B, and Class C. Class A being the luxury property, all the bells and whistles. Class C, working your way down to Class C, older, dated, needing renovations, things like that. So they focus on Class A commercial real estate that are leased to the U.S. government agencies. So their tenants are agencies like the FBI and DEA. So the CEO actually, it's interesting that they're one of the few REITs that are in our draft this year or this season that actually their price is lower than when we did the draft mid-May. So there's only a handful, and it was interesting to see that. But the CEO did announce last month that they anticipate they have a great pipeline of potential projects, and they anticipate more than $200 million in acquisitions still this year, even with the pandemic. So it looks like they're still actively buying. They feel good about moving forward through the pandemic. So we'll check that out. So the image that we see on YouTube, it's the DEA office in Albany, New York. It's built in 2004. It's 31,976 square feet. I thought it was fascinating when I saw the property. So think about this, like we talk about construction, whether it's multifamily renovations, we talk about value add and stuff like that. Well, their improvements that they do in their construction, holding cells, secure evidence chambers, storage areas, wiretap rooms, and interview rooms. So for all of our REIT ballers out there, we hope that if you come across this building, check it out. It is just to check out the REIT and not to spend time in any of these holding cells or anything.
I assume their rent's always paid on time.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I was thinking, so like the agencies, right? The agencies are the tenant, and I would think that they are all. I didn't dig into like their leases, but typically, like a lot of government leases are going to be longer. So I was wondering if they dipped because just they're still down because of furloughs, because of short-term financial pain with the government agents trying to renegotiate leases. I was just wondering what that was about. I didn't get to dig into that, but I'm going to after the show because I'm really interested because it seems like it would be one of the more less exciting, sexy REITs, but like pretty stable.
Right.
So you had Kyle Kuzma that was assigned to Easterly Government Properties.
Yeah, Kyle Kuzma, a young kid out of Flint, Michigan, went to Utah, drafted by the Lakers. Being a Laker fan, I'm excited we got Kyle, 27th pick in the first round. He was actually traded for D'Angelo Russell and Timothy Mozgov from the Nets. That was the Nets pick that we used to take Kyle Kuzma, get that horrible contract of Timothy Mozgov off our books. And then, but Kyle came in as a rookie and averaged, I want to say he averaged close to 17 points last year. I think, and that was his sophomore year. He's dropped this year down to 12, but that's kind of understandable when you got Anthony Davis taking a bunch of shots. But they were hoping that he would be that third scorer, but he hasn't really, I wouldn't say he hasn't really came to what we thought he would be playing alongside Anthony Davis and LeBron James. I mean, we definitely thought he would be doing more, so hopefully he does pick it up coming up in the playoffs. Career high 37 points in a game. But like I said, he came in the league playing well because he wasn't one of your typical one and done players in college. He played 3 years in college, so he came in more seasoned, I guess you can say. But yeah, Kyle Kuzma, he's a great player. Glad he's on the team. Hopefully, like I said, he could pick it up and produce more and be that real third option for the Lakers.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll take some pressure off of LeBron and AD. So, yeah, cool. Thank you for that update. And then we're going to go over to the champ's portfolio. The champ is here.
The champ.
Moving on to my portfolio. Today we're going to talk about the top performer of Boston Properties. Boston Properties has a dividend of 4.35%, and this past week they were up 6.5%, so a very solid gain last week. And Boston Properties, their ticker symbol is BXP. They're an office REIT, and they're actually one of the largest owners, managers, and developers of Class A office properties. And if you see the image, if you're not looking at the image, it's a beautiful property in DC that we're talking about today. But they have over 48 million square feet in total office space, or their total portfolio, 164 offices, 5 retail, 5 residential, and 1 hotel. That's what their portfolio is comprised of. So very much office REIT. They have their largest presence in these primary markets: Boston, Los Angeles, New York, San Francisco, DC. It'll be interesting to see how their REIT performs when I think about this pandemic and afterwards and what it's done. Number one, folks who now may want to live in the suburbs, corporations who may be okay with the work from home. There was a REIT call that I was on this past week, and the analysts and the research team was talking about essentially they predict, currently full-time Monday through Friday, 85% of employees go into the office pre-COVID, and they expect that to drop to 60%, so 25%. Now, 60% is still the majority going in Monday through Friday. Right. So it's not to say that, hey, office is dead, but 25% decrease, if that holds true, that's enough to move the market. When you think about, shifting demand, right? And what that does to rent prices and things like that, and valuations on properties. So stay tuned with, especially in the office space and in the gateway markets and the markets like that, LA and Boston, New York, San Francisco, all high densely populated markets that have people on top of each other, as well as expensive rents and things like that. So I wonder if they'll shift at all. They were founded at 1970. They went public in 1997. Their June collections, they don't have July out yet. I didn't see July, but June tenant collections, 98%. So people are paying. Their property is 2200 Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest. That's the image you see now if you're on YouTube. And it's downtown DC. It's the CBD, right in the business district, close to Georgetown, in an upscale neighborhood. You have luxury like hotels, restaurants, retail, great area. It's a 10-story office building, all glass, state-of-the-art fitness center, and it's actually part of a mixed-use development. So it shares the site with 333-unit luxury apartment building and 50,000 square feet of high-end retail. And it's new. It's 2011, not that old. So a pretty new building that we're talking about within Boston Properties portfolio. So with that said, you have tied to Boston Properties, you have Markelle Fultz. I like his story, and looking forward to hearing about him.
We've talked about Markelle on the show before. #1 overall pick back in 2017 to the Philadelphia 76ers. Markelle was coming great out of college. He was one of the leading scorers. I want to say, I think he was the highest scoring freshman that year out of Washington. But he was drafted by the Sixers, who actually traded that pick from Boston, who ended up getting Jason Tatum. That was by the way, that was an huge. Shout out to Danny Ainge, Boston GM, for what he does to acquire draft picks. I wouldn't say he's the best in how he uses them, but he's able to move draft picks like nobody else. But yeah, Boston had the number 1 pick that year. They traded it to Philadelphia and still were able to get Jason Tatum with a 3rd overall pick. But Markelle Fultz was drafted by Philly. He got hurt. He hurt his shoulder that year. He only played 14 games his rookie year, only played 19 games his sophomore year. But during the process of getting hurt, he was working with someone who wasn't associated with the team. And something happened to his shot to where he just completely forgot his mechanics. But
it was some condition that they couldn't figure out, right?
I mean, yeah, that was the issue with his shoulder. But as far as his mechanics, they said it was some of it was due to who he was working with. Yeah, I mean, this kid was lights out in college to come to the NBA and forget how to shoot. It took him a while, but he was recently traded to Orlando. And he's playing well this year. I mean, he's averaging 12 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists for the Magic. So definitely rooting for this kid. He has a good story, like you said. Hopefully he can come back and make an impact. To his credit, he is the youngest player to ever record a triple-double. He did that. Oh, cool. He did that in one of those 14 games his rookie year.
Wow.
So the talent's there. For Markelle, we just gotta see what he can do going forward.
Yeah, definitely pulling for him. It's a great story for him to be able to still be in the league, recover, and hopefully has a great rest of his career with Orlando. So the worst performer I had for the week that we haven't discussed yet this season is CubeSmart. Their ticker symbol is CUBE, CUBE. They have a dividend of 4.62%. And they had almost a 5% gain this last week. And again, we've talked a lot about storage data. CubeSmart is a storage facility or a storage REIT, and we've talked a lot about, it makes sense during this time, of uncertainty. Like that's when storage demand increases. So I think storage will continue will do well long term. As people would try to figure out how to downsize, relocate, and things like that. So CubeSmart is headquartered in Malvern, Pennsylvania. They're a market value of $5.42 billion. They were founded in July of 2004. They're the 4th largest self-storage in the U.S. We talked about the other competitors. They own more than 520 self-storage facilities in 24 states and Washington, D.C., containing 36.6 million rentable square feet. So obviously a large REIT. The property that we have up there today is a property in the Bronx. It's 255 Exterior Street in the Bronx. So all you New Yorkers, if you're close to the Bronx and you're thinking about storing some stuff, you can consider CubeSmart, especially if you own the REIT. So
now on CubeSmart, are they one of those companies that give you like one of those big boxes? I mean, I'm trying to read into the whole Cube thing. Is that their, like, as far as they'll drop off a storage thing at your house, you fill it up, and then they bring it, or?
Oh, you're talking about kind of like a lot of the essentially the prop tech players are starting to do. I don't believe they're doing the pickup service. Okay. But I know what you're talking about. Yeah, now I can't think of the names, but there's a couple big players in the prop tech space that are now giving you an app. And so that's a good point, though. So that's a great point, Kent. So like these storage REITs, currently, for the folks who don't know, prop tech, property technology, these companies are coming together with innovation and different ways of doing things more efficiently, better customer service, and a greater client journey along the way. So now think about all the times that you had to lug stuff to storage traditionally. These prop tech startup companies now some are hundreds of millions of dollars in valuation. I think maybe $1 billion valuation, but they essentially come and pick up your items. Some will pack it for you. They also have an app where you can see the items that are in storage. So you remember what's in storage. And then one step further, they allow you to rent some of those things out through the app.
Wow.
So think about that. If any of those become a REIT, how will that REIT, the innovative REIT, compare to a traditional storage facility?
That could be a game changer.
It could.
A lot of them.
Yeah, I think we'll see a lot more. There's a lot of talk around technology REITs or innovative kind of driven REITs, kind of gaining market share in the future for obvious reasons, and some of these more traditional REITs maybe not being as relevant as they once were. But you had Kawhi Leonard, who's tied to CubeSmart. I love Kawhi, so what's the rundown on him?
Mr. Load Management himself, Kawhi Leonard, currently on the Clippers. Mr. Load Management. But I mean, when he plays, he comes to play, so you really can't hate on the philosophy. But Kawhi Leonard, what can't you say? He was recently traded from the Spurs to Toronto last year and won a championship, got another Finals MVP. Then he signed with the Clippers, trying to take them past the second round for the first time in league in organization history. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the bubble for Kawhi. But since we're talking about Kawhi, let's kind of break down Kawhi's career, because I was just talking to a buddy about this the other day, and the fact that Kawhi Leonard's under the age of 30. For the folks not on YouTube, we just put up a visual that kind of run down his accomplishments. But Kawhi's not even 30, and he is a two-time champion. He is a two-time Finals MVP. He is a two-time Defensive Player of the Year. He is a three-time All-NBA, four-time All-Star, and 5 all-time defensive team.
Wow.
All before the age of 30. And I'm not saying Kawhi's top 10 all time, but if you look at anyone in the top 10, I mean, you can put this resume next to it, and it's gonna be an interesting conversation.
So by the time he's done, he's top what, do you think?
I don't know. Like I said, we got to see how it pans out. In my opinion, Kawhi has always been that extra piece. I don't know if that makes sense, but I mean,
so not the number one on the team?
Yeah, I mean, he's the best player on the team, but he's been that piece to take teams over. I mean, when he won on the Spurs, I mean, you can't say that Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, and Manu didn't do anything. You know what I mean? It's kind of like he was that extra piece. Toronto, who's made it to the Eastern Conference Finals almost every year, Kawhi comes and they win the championship. So it's not like he took a team from the lottery to the championship. He took a team from the Eastern who made it to the Eastern Conference Finals to winning the NBA Finals. So it's.
But the stats are the stats. He's still.
For sure, like I said, his resume can compete with anybody, for sure.
Yeah. He's the X factor.
Yeah. There you go. X Factor. That's a good name for it.
Well, cool, man. I think that's that takes us to our final thoughts today, man. We're getting out a little early on this season finale because we removed the losing portfolio. So let's hop into the final thoughts that you have. Okay, let's. I know typically I like to give flowers while people are still around, but this time we're giving flowers to someone who's no longer with us. The great Stuart Scott would have been 55 last week. So we're definitely paying homage to him today. Stuart left us January 4th, 2015 at the age of 49. He lost his life to cancer. But while he was living, Stuart was one of the best ESPN analysts there was. He really, his style and the way he called games and talked about games kind of changed how we thought of people on TV. I mean, he coined the phrases "booyah," "holla," as cool as the other side of the pillow, holla at a play when you see him in the street. I mean, things that you never heard on TV before. Stuart Scott was the man that said it. And I mean, You know what's interesting? I feel like not even like thinking about it, but like we're trying to unintentionally accomplish something similar in the REIT space.
Yeah,
which
definitely.
will never touch the quality of Stuart Scott. But I'm just saying that when you said it, I didn't even think about it. But naturally, I mean, we have, you know, kind of hip hop as the intro. We try to use sports and pop culture and things like that in what's been a very traditional kind of older industry.
Right.
So
Definitely.
maybe subconsciously that, I mean, he was my favorite analyst of all time. And I think you said yours too, right?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. In closing, Stuart once said, when you die, it does not mean that you lose to cancer. You beat cancer by how you live, why you live, and the manner in which you live. So we will continue to live on for you, Stu.
Awesome, man. And let's keep pushing ahead and challenging ourselves to get better and better at this broadcasting in the REIT space in honor of Stuart Scott. That's the cool one today, man. Thank you for that. And you know, my final thoughts as we wrap up season 1, pure gratitude. Thank you for the folks who were listening and have followed and subscribed. Again, go to YouTube, subscribe, get the note or press the bell for the notification so you know when we have a new episode. Typically, it's going to be once a week for the longer draft specific episodes, but then going into season 2, which is going to be in 2 weeks, we're actually going to drop another at least 2 to 3 shorter videos on REIT specific items to try to get you more comfortable with the fundamentals. So we're just going to keep on building this along to get you really prepared to be an investor in real estate and participate in real estate sooner rather than later through REITs. So again, thank you for following. We every month it continues to grow faster and faster, which means we have some good traction and we need to keep doing that. And I would just say, man, this all came. Ken, you've been on this journey with me, and this all came, this vision and wanting to really give back from setbacks that we experienced, right? And what I'll say is, for anyone out there going through, you know, tough times, it's a crazy time right now that we're all in, but you know, just know that eventually it does get a little bit easier, and hopefully it will mold you into someone even better than you were before. And the challenges obviously will make you stronger, but you never know. Like great ideas or your passion, your purpose, things may come out of these tough times. So make sure you embrace it and stay hopeful. And then, you know, again, going into season 2, like I said, looks like, fingers crossed, don't want to jinx it, but it looks like we have our first REIT CEO coming, joining us as a guest. Excited about that. And some other guests that we have lined up as well. We're going to do a slightly different format in the fantasy draft. We talked about that. Kent will make it, try to just keep on improving.
We're gonna incorporate other sports sometimes. Baseball season starts this week. Football season is looking like it's going to start on time. So we'll have lots of stuff to talk about.
Absolutely. But ultimately, just spread the word. Hopefully, we're making a meaningful impact and helping you out. And hopefully you enjoyed this first season. It's crazy, like how this is the first season is done. You know, we took it from idea and we knew what the vision we had and just ran with it. And, you know, we encourage you all to do the same, whatever you're passionate about or whatever impact you think you can make positively on your community. Just get out there and do it. Don't worry about perfection. You'll keep on building and getting better.
Definitely. Subscribe, like, comment. Let us know what you want to see. As M. Glad said, we're going to have a lot of great guests in season 2 from different parts of the industries. So I'm excited. I can't wait.
Absolutely. And we'll start season 2, not this next week, but the first week of August. So 2 weeks, you'll see us again, and we'll be back and connect with you then. So until then, final season finale, season 1 of REIT Ball. REIT Ball, we're out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Keep the same energy, yeah. Keep the same energy, keep the same energy, yeah. Keep the same energy, You ain't gotta like me, no. You ain't gotta like me, no.